This is the content strategy I use for the past 5 years to get strangers online to pay me. Most of my clients found me organically online through my content that I post on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, and lately I just closed a client from TikTok. So the platform doesn't matter as long as you get the strategy right. But I got to this point by following scattered and often conflicting guru advice. But 5 years in, I can compress everything that I learned into this one singular video. So creating content as a business owner doesn't have to be overwhelming. So in this video, I'm going to be covering the 8 content formats that can position you as an authority to get clients and their pros and cons. And 2, if I were to start over right now, these are the 3 that I recommend you to focus on to get clients and opportunities fast. So let's start with the first format, which is trends or news. Now, let's say you are a business around growth on X, and then somebody influential within that niche, for example, Elon Musk just launched an update. So obviously everybody who is active on X is somewhat interested in that topic because it's a recent thing that just happened. Not a lot of people are making content about that. There's a demand, but not enough supply. So you can create a video quickly to capture into that gap. So the pros of this is that there's existing traffic around this topic. The cons of this is even though you may get views because it's an in-demand topic, but the problem with these kind of videos is that right after the news dies, and so will your traffic. So you got to constantly think of another one. So personally, I don't like to use this because I like to make more evergreen content so I don't have to keep making videos every day. The second type of format is called social hacking. Who is really popular within your niche? So again, if you're selling a service around personal brand growth on X, everybody who's trying to grow on X will know about Dan Ko. He's the OG. So if you create some sort of video or content around this guy, because there's demand about him, you would tap into that audience. So the pros of this is that there's demand for this topic. He's a famous guy. You talk about the famous guy, there's going to be some traffic. The cons of this is that people are interested about him, but not you. So when you launch your next video that has nothing to do with the social hacking, it may not resonate with the audience. That's why I don't like to do this as well, because I want my channel to be about how my stories can help other people. So let's move on to the third format. This is my favorite and I recommend you to do as a beginner, which is how I overcome a problem. So you're going to list down a bunch of problems that you have overcome in your life, and then you simply talk about that. How I do X if I had to start over. Mistakes to avoid. Watch me do X. I tried X. So whatever story you pick, you run it through a filter. If I tell this story, would it help other people? If yes, then go ahead and do it. If no, then it's mostly about you bragging about yourself, then maybe not do it. All right, so the pros, this is the best format to grow your personal brand. If somebody likes you here, they like you for who you are rather than trends or social hacking. That's the pros. The cons, however, when you're starting out to make these kind of formats, your views are most likely going to be very low. So you have to mix this with other formats to grow your channel. Moving on to the fifth, this is my favorite also. It's called contrarian insights that confirms a deep pain or desires. So within your niche, if everybody knows they have to do this, and then you're the only one who say, no, you don't have to do this instead. Now that's a contrarian take. So for example, this guy, usually self-improvement is something that would make your life better, but he said how self-improvement ruined my life. So that's a contrarian thing. And the contrast makes people curious, like, oh, what's going on? And want to click on the video. So the pros of this is that this is the format that blew up my channel about how you don't have to retention edit your videos. The cons of it is that you may run out of contrarian takes at some point. And also for a beginner to start creating content and go against the grain right off the bat might be a little hard for some people, especially if you're starting out. So let's explore the sixth format, vulnerability stories to help others avoid. Basically, this is telling a vulnerable story about you, but in the context that it would help other people, right? For example, this guy said, I was laid off 19 months ago. So this is an in-demand topic right now because everybody's afraid the economy is bad, AI is taking over, there's mass layoffs. So then he told this story and then it just resonated with people because it's just the perfect timing. People are scared to lose their jobs. The pros is this is the best way to make people like you for who you are as a person. In fact, I just closed a client from TikTok when I told them how I went from an engineer to a business owner that I'm running right now, what was the path, the conflict that I had to do in the middle, what led me to do what I am today. And in that video, I didn't really teach anything, but I gave insights. And then the lesson was you can get fired anytime. So if you have a business idea, you might as well just do it now before it's too late. And I got a bunch of people who DM'd me, and one person really liked the way I tell stories, and now he's my mentorship client. All right. So the cons of this, however, is I think if you're new, it's very hard to be vulnerable on camera, right? You need to get practice. Also, there's a fine line between you telling a vulnerable story and you coming out looking like a giant loser versus you looking like a hero. To me, the way I teach my clients is we're gonna list down all the vulnerable stories. Now we're gonna filter it. If you tell this story, can it help other people avoid the mistakes that you did? If yes, then now the story is about the viewer and you come across as the hero because you're telling them this is what happened to me. So this is the insight. So why don't do that, right? All right, moving on to the sixth format is podcasts. So podcast is something that is not recommended for beginners because there's quite a bit of a technical setup to make sure that the two mics are not conflicting with one another. And also you need to be influential to get people on your podcast in the first place. I think this is a powerful format when you're a little bit more advanced in your content career. Okay, so these are categorized as top funnel. What does that mean? It is content designed to be very broad appeal. It is not too much educational. It's not something too specific. It's a video topic that would resonate with a lot of people, broad appeal, right? The point is to get people to know you exist and to maybe like you. Now we move on to middle funnel. Middle funnel is like somebody who already know they need the thing that you're trying to sell, but they're not sure that you can do it or they're comparing around. So some content that you can do to catch people in this state of mind is deep dives, where you explain exactly how your offer works. So step 1, step 2, step 3. And if somebody is already invested in that idea and they already like you, they watch this video and they're like, okay, this guy is the guy, I'm ready, maybe I should work with him. But the problem with the deep dives, when you're starting out, you don't need too many deep dives, you just need one. And then you move on to get attention, awareness, which is these videos up here. Okay, so we're moving on to the last 8th format, more middle funnel. So these are roast and reviews. What this means is you can roast a client's something and make a video out of it. The pros of this, you will look like an authority because you're roasting somebody. The cons of this, if you do this and as a beginner, it might be a little challenging to grow a channel, right? So if you can see, middle funnel is more of converting people who are somewhat ready to maybe become a lead, and top funnel here is mostly awareness, like, hey, I'm Helmi, I exist, this is who I am. Make sense? So these are the 8 formats you can try in terms of content, and I think some of them will immediately click with you. And the cool thing is you do not have to do all of this at once. You can just pick a few and see what works with your vibe and run with it, right? Now I'm gonna show you which one of the types of videos that I've done that actually got me client and which one don't. So the ones that didn't get me client, I wouldn't recommend you do that. Based on my experience, it could be different for you. I've never made trends or news. I'm pretty sure I won't be able to get clients from that because the people watching these videos, they just interested in the news, not in me and what I offer. Is the same with social hacking. Sure, I can get views, but they are more interested in the character here, not with me or whatever I offer. How I own problems. I did a lot of these videos, but the conversion rate is not as high as I hoped. But this could be a good training ground to be comfortable on camera because you're talking about something you're already good at. Now, contrarian insights that confirms deep pain and desire. This is my favorite. I got some clients from this. And then vulnerability stories, I also got some clients from this. Podcasts, I did not get any clients from this. I tried this on my first channel, no clients. Deep dives here, surprisingly, I did not get any clients from here yet for me. Roast, I haven't got any clients from this as well. So if you're starting out, the only 3 video formats that you should focus on are these 3 right here, which is how I overcome a problem. List down all the problems that you have overcome, big or small. Doesn't matter. Each one that you overcome is one video. Contrarian insights. So what is something that everybody zigs, you say zag. Vulnerability stories is my favorite because everybody online is bragging about how awesome they are, but you're out here being real person. Like, hey, I tried this, it's really hard. I didn't get the result that I wanted, but here's how I overcome that. So these videos right here would really make people discover you and like you as a person. And when they like you, it's easier for them to buy whatever it is that you're selling. All right, now you know the 8 formats in your video toolkit and the 3 formats that I recommend you to focus on if you're a beginner to make that process a lot faster and less stressful. But the glue that holds everything together is one simple filter. Does this content pull people further into my universe? If it does, hit publish. If it doesn't, skip to the next video idea. Because the content game isn't really about just views, it's about connection. And whoever creates the best connection, they win. Now, if you want to see how I convert those connections into real clients, watch this video next.